Hello, BookTube. It's Sunday evening. The day is drawing to a close, and I thought I'd do a little video. I received a few books from Amazon earlier this evening. Nothing spectacular, just the Wordsworth editions. I had mentioned those on several occasions, going back now probably about 6 months, in sort of a more or less continuous fashion. And I think it was September, it must have been, that they advertised that they were going to be doing at least 3 volumes of George Orwell starting January. The release date at that point was January 1st. And they were going to do 1984, Animal Farm, Down and Out in Paris, and London. And I think bundled with that was The Road to Wigan Pier, I think it was. Now, I pre-ordered those at I think just over £2. I think was the price. I think they actually went down to under £2 during my pre-order, so I got them for less than £2 each. Or yeah, well, I've got 2 of the 3. That's where sort of the conundrum comes in. The first one I received, I'd already shown, was 1984. Let's try not to get too much glare on it. I just love these covers. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, that's a little better. I just love these covers, and so I thought for the pittance that they are charging, it was worth it for the artwork. Now, there's also, which I'm very surprised, there's a really good, like about a 20-some page introduction by Sally Minogue. I have not read it, but it looks pretty good. So that's an added bonus. So not only for, excuse me, not only for, pittance, you get a pretty good introduction. Today came the second one, Animal Farm. Just look at that cover. It's just wonderful. And it also has an introduction by Andrew Palmer that's probably 20 pages or so. So, it's they're well worth getting. The third one hasn't come yet, and Amazon is showing that it's out of stock, and they're trying to get it. So I don't know what's happened. I think for some reason, I don't know where they're printed, but there could be issues because of COVID with the supply chains. So I still have it on order, and the Wordsworth Editions website doesn't say anything about that they're not going to do it, and I'm hoping they're going to do more throughout the year. So fingers crossed. The one thing you need to keep an eye out with when you do get these, there seems to be, and I've had many of these that are sort of printing error bits. You see, there's a little bit there where it didn't cut off that much, so it just gets folded underneath. And that I don't know, it seems to happen. And I had another one that I bought earlier last year that had sort of the like 20 or 30 pages that they were sort of bound back into the into the spine. So that was a bit odd. But knowing that the Animal Farm was coming today, I thought, well, let me look. There's quite a few that I sort of want, but what would be sort of nice to get right at the moment? And I noticed that they had a collected works or short stories of Catherine Mansfield. Now, I haven't read her in probably 30 years, but I remember liking her stories. So I thought, no, this is pretty substantial. It's all the books everything that was published. So it's like 650 plus pages, 660 pages probably. And there's an introduction as well. But it's done sort of book by book that was published. So I thought I'd get that. And again, like that was only £2.20, I think, was on there. So this one's come in nice condition. It's the new editions that they've done. Also, too, I had a hankering to read a play or two of Oscar Wilde. Now, and so I thought, well, this is as good a way of doing it. There is some damage to this one. That's not a printing damage. That's sort of shelving or dropping at some point. But I'm not too concerned. But it's just their reading copy for this anyway. So it's an interesting cover. But yeah, so it's a cheap way to get a few plays. Also, too, I've got a hardcover, but I thought, which I can't even find, is the short stories of Saki, H.H. Hector Hugh Munro. Not the greatest of cover on this one, I must say. But it's fairly big. I don't know if that's everything, but he is a very, very good short story writer. And they are very short. The stories are very short, so it'll take you some of them a few minutes to read, literally. So that's the nice thing about these. So I wanted some short stories there. So and yeah, that's does it have an introduction? I'm just curious to see. Well, yes, but it's only 2 pages, so there's not much with it. But yeah, he's a humorous writer. He's on the back. They consider him, I think, somewhere I saw, like a master of the short story. So that was again. I think these ones, other than the Orwell, were about £2.20. And last to not least, this sort of popped up, and I thought, yeah, why not? I've got other editions of it, but I thought, which I can't sort of get to now, and I thought, it might be a fun little read. It's very short, and I love the cover of that as well. It's a Diary of a Nobody by George and Whedon Grossmith, and it is a hilarious sort of novel, but done in a diary form of Mr. Pooter, sort of middle class guy, and he just sort of decides, well, everybody's writing a diary and publishing it. Well, why can't I? And it's his hilarious sort of antics of him, friends, and his wife. It was written in the late 1800s, 1890s, I think. Just sort of looking here to see if it says originally written. It's late 1800s. Let's put it that way. And to me, this and like Three Men in a Boat are just fabulous. I'd known Three Men in a Boat for, I don't know, most of my life, and have loved it and read it and reread it. This one I only came across because in Brideshead Revisited, I think it's Mrs. Marchmain is reading bits of it to the kids, or sort of they do a reading thing. There's something in there, and that's where, and I think somewhere around probably the early 90s, that I discovered it by reading Brideshead Revisited. So I immediately was interested in it and sought out a copy. So it's something I've read many times. It's illustrated. It's got some fabulous illustrations. These seem, if not a little dark for, but I don't know. I'd have to compare them. But I think they seem a little dark. But they are fun little illustrations. And you get all sorts of antics. That's humorous. And there's small diary entries too. So it's like you can read little bits of it, drop it, and then pick it up later. But sometimes it's quite infectious that you just continue to read, and it's so short that, well, when I used to, it's 100 and some pages, you could sit down in one sitting and, knock it off. But yeah, so that's a little bit of Wordsworth edition. So there's sort of a little stack here of Wordsworth paperbacks, and these are the new designs of them. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. And there's other ones, so like they do a line of Dostoevsky that have fabulous covers. Just it's almost like worth getting if you just want the covers and just well, I don't condone this, but it's like you can cut the covers off and actually frame them and have nice sort of large postcard size pictures that you can frame, because no, it's just they are fabulous. They are fabulous artwork that they're doing, and I think it's newly commissioned artwork as well. Um, well, it says for this one, the Diary of a Nobody. It says the design is by Robert Malthus, I think. It's dark here, it's difficult to read. Illustration is by Becky Surridge, contemporary artist. Yeah, so it was a newly commissioned, um, piece. So yeah, that's the I just find them fantastic, and really cheap to read. There was a time that I sort of poo-pooed them, I guess to a certain extent because they were cheap. But the only other thing that were sort of comparable to this at the time were the Penguin Popular Classics. Now they started out with in different forms. They had some of them had just plain covers, and then they started out with some illustrations on, and they were I think £1.99, and they were pretty cheaply made. They're cheaper than these. It's hard to believe that you can make a book like this and make money off it. Even though I know they're not paying the authors anything because it's all in the public domain. But there's still there's the introductions and the covers. So there is some expense in the printing as well. So, but maybe that's where the issue is, that the printing is from somewhere where there's the supply chain is a bit difficult. I'd have to look into that, but at the moment I'm not sure. But yeah, so there you go. A few Wordsworth books. And I do urge you, if you're on a tight budget and you want some literature to read, do check it out. They've got it's a little small. Excuse me. It's a little smaller than it used to be, but they had a really good sort of supernatural and mystery selection. But they're down to I think less than half the titles now, which is too bad. They were publishing a lot of stuff that was really good, and for a while I did have the complete run of those. I bought every single one once I sort of got over the aspect of these, because sometimes to get the text is just too expensive otherwise, and so I had everything that they did that way. But then when I had to move like 7, 8 years ago, I think it was, and I had to put stuff in storage, there was only so much room I had, so I had to get rid of stuff. And I thought, well, those are cheap, I can get them again. Well, there you go. It doesn't always happen that way. Anyway, I will speak to you later. Oh, I've put up a video for this on the 22nd, I think it is my 1-year anniversary on BookTube. And so there's a request for Q&A. So put your questions on there. And so far, I got some honking questions. Really, really good questions. Some are a little difficult. So yeah, you know who you are. But there's a few difficult ones that, but it'll be fun to do. And I'll be doing that a week today on next Sunday. Anyway, take care, BookTube. Have a good week reading.